Hello everybody and welcome to a new tutorial. Haven't done one of these in a long time, but yeah, today it's all about Substance Sampler. Or as it was formerly known as Substance Alchemist, which was, pretty cool. But Adobe got their hooks into it, and now it's called Substance Sampler. And I don't know if you guys have been using it, but if you happen to have Substance Painter and you're paying for a subscription for it, you most likely have Substance Sampler as well. And today I want to show you a quick tutorial on how we can make a texture like the one behind me, where we're using Midjourney to generate the texture, and we're using the Substance Sampler application to make it tiled and give it some depth, give it some different sort of treatments to be able to make it production ready, so we can drop it into our scenes and use it. And effectively, Midjourney would be an infinite resource of textures. Actually, there's a website that I'm going to link in the description below where you can actually get AI generated textures, which are also tiled. But why not make your own? If you have Midjourney or any other software that can generate AI imagery, that's done, that it can make an infinite amount. I mean, I think Bing now has Bing image generator, which is it's a free thing that you can use. So then if you have also Substance Sampler, then there's no reason for you not to give this a go and see what you can come up with. I'm pretty sure the possibilities are endless. So yeah, let's not delay any further. Let's begin this workflow. If you guys are interested in supporting the platform, please take a look at the description below on my links and have a look. Maybe you'll like one of my projects on Patreon or Gumroad or ArtStation or whatever. So yeah, let's begin. Now, as you can see, I am inside Discord with the, talking to my Midjourney bot in here. And I have a few things that I've been trying to do, but the process of just creating textures within Midjourney is all about, a trial and error kind of process. So you want to start typing in things that would generate textures for you, especially from a top-down view. But I sort of landed on this one, which is basically an alien ground planet texture with detailed arc lights seen from a top-down view. So this is what it generated when I tried to do this. This is in Midjourney version 5, which is basically the fastest they've made so far. It is definitely the best one yet. So I really like the shape. I really like it's very interesting. And now I would like to use this in sort of a process where I can tile it, and I'm able to just play around with it. And now for me, it's got a very interesting shape, but it's also got a lot of shadows on it. So that's gonna not gonna work very well if I'm trying to tile this texture. And that's where Adobe Sampler comes in. God, I really like the name Substance Alchemist the way it was before. Anyway, now with that generated, I've also got another one in here which we're going to try later. But with this generated, I can save the image, so I can just right click on it. This is upscaled as well, so I can just actually there were a couple of variations in here that I tried for brickwork and so on, and this was what I got on that prompt, and this is the one that I'm going with. You can pretty much get top view images if you type in top view or orthographic view. Generally, orthographic will pretty much tell Midjourney that you want to have a top down view of things. So I can just right click it and then save image, and I can press I said just save image. I'm actually going to replace it. I saved it again. I'm going to right click and save image on this one as well, just so I can use it later on. This is made with a different version of Midjourney. This is version 4, so I've got some other options in here, while Midjourney 5, after you upscale, you don't really get anything else. So I'm not going to go through how to use Midjourney, because I think that's just, I've got tutorials on that as well, but more importantly is how we can generate, textures basically forever. So going back in Substance, opening Substance sampler or Adobe Substance Sampler. This is pretty much what you're going to get when you open it in general. So this is the interface of the most current version of this software. And what you want to do is down here where you've got, it says your assets, you can actually click that. And then you can press this plus button in here and you can say import in layer stack. And then you can double click the texture you want to import and it'll give you some options. Now, one of the things in here, generally, people will use image to material with AI powered. Now, I found that when you're trying to do textures from Midjourney, it's better not to do this. So you want to take a more, sort of like old-fashioned route, so to speak. This is with the B2M, so bitmap to material. I believe it's the. I believe that's actually the what it stands for. Anyway, so when we do that, we can press import and this will bring in the texture, which will also be automatically added. Now the sphere isn't going to really help us to visualize this very well, so I'm just going to click this button in here and change to a plane. And that's what the texture looks like. And as you can see, it imported it with all the shadows and all that. So, it's cool that it's got the shadows, but unfortunately, it's not going to be very great when, we're trying to hide it. So this is where we can click over here on the layers and we can have a look at what type of, what surface type we've got. So we can choose between the electric or metallic. So I'm going to go with a metallic surface just because I think it just works better. But we can play with the roughness and all that later on. And then you've got height and roughness and, other such sort of things in here. So you can start pretty much playing with this. I would increase the variation of the roughness so you can get a bit more sort of like variation. You can also get it to be very shiny or very rough, something like that maybe. But, there's a lot of settings in here that you can do. So, for example, you can do custom metallic maps, and I believe with this you can choose a texture to sort of propagate that metalness over it. So I don't know, for example, if I choose this texture here, as you can see, it's now added some shapes around what is trying to make it not so metallic, which is a very interesting thing. We could probably leave it like that for now. But importantly, we want to start making this tile, and in order to do this, we can go over here on the, sorry, let me just close the viewer settings. So over here where it says your assets, we want to go back. And then once we see all the libraries, we can type in tile. So this will give us the make it tile filter, which we can add on top of the stack. And this will start creating the tile effect. And as you can see, we have a bit of an issue here. It doesn't look very good. So we can play around with the threshold, maybe something like that, which will help us to mask and be able to tile. It's because of the color of it, you can't really see it properly. So, well, let me just play around a bit with these settings. I'm just going to try to decrease the contrast. See, the contrast makes the edges very sharp while you're tiling, so decreasing the contrast helps to build that. The main issue that we've got is we need to get rid of the shadows that were already within the texture. So to do this, we're going to type in here delighter, and this is what it's called. It's delighter. It's an AI powered delighter. I'm just going to drag it under make it tile, and now you can see that it's pretty much balanced the way our texture looks like. Actually, because this is a very rough material, I might actually have to go over here and look at the metallic, sorry, not the metallic, look at the roughness and just increase that roughness a bit more. Yeah, something like that. I think it will be better. But we don't seem to have a lot of depth on this. And what we can do, we can go on the height option in here, and then we can have a look at, decreasing the large size, maybe something like that. And then the medium, I think we're just going to raise up the slopes on the medium, and then increase the small slopes as well. Which, as you can see, it gives it a lot more definition. Obviously, there's a displacement. It's using a technique to create a displacement map of this texture as well. We could have a look at decreasing the large scale further, or bringing it up, but this just smoothens the effect, so we don't want that. And then you can have a look in here what type of height. What should we be using, the directional light or the overcast of the the sort of the texture. So I think I'm gonna leave it to something like that. I can also play around with this height setting, which if you bring it too hard, it will make it a lot deeper, but it will also look a lot weirder. So you do want to keep this at some, you know, a reasonable level. You've got to look at the surface scale as well in terms of making sure that that sort of looks right. And when you've got something that, you know, you are actually okay with, you can sort of leave it. Now, there's other things that you can do. Like, you know, for example, if you decrease the make it tile, this will show you what the original texture looks like without the make it tile. Obviously, adding the decreasing the delight, you know, disabling the delighter will make you, you know, lose quite a bit of that color. So it's very important that you keep the delighter on. And that's kind of it on that, you know, on that sort of front of just doing the basic changes to make it tiling, and now it is pretty much tiling. Now for some other options in here where we could click the make it tile, and obviously we've got our threshold, you know, to play around where we want the tiling to sort of begin and end, and you could probably bring it to that level like that. I would generally recommend looking at the, you know, the contrast here is very important because it does sort of add a bit of a smoothness wherever the contrast point is sort of coming. So you could probably look at doing, you know, playing around with that. Do you want the smoothness value to be higher or lower? And then I would definitely click on spots removal for this kind of texture. I think it's, well, it's adding a bit more detail, but it is making it more obvious, I think, in my opinion, where sort of the pass is happening. But yeah, let's just play around with the color equalizer, which is, if you put that to the max, it will bring the original color of the texture, you know, up to, you know, in front of you as much as possible, which I think is really, really important. But you can see if you're not careful with this contrast, you're gonna get some serious issues. Now you can then look at the height if you want it to match. And then you've also got some advanced parameters here, generally for things like the chrominance influence. So this will help you to try and balance out the colors even further. I would say keep that high. You know, you can invert the mask or you don't. So it really depends on the texture, from texture to texture. But I think not inverting it actually gives it a really nice pattern. And then you can have a look at if you want to smooth out the height map or not. Again, all of this matters only if you're actually using this as geometry as well, displacing geometry. If not, it is going to be flat. But and then you can just play around with these if you want to change those sort of points of intersection there, which generally can help, you know, with just, you know, bridging some more details. So, you know, for example, I could do something like that and then have a look, you know, do something like that. And then this has created a sort of a star shape now on this texture, which I think really looks really cool. And you can also increase the resolution to 4K in here if you want to see, you know, a better version of this. And in the shader settings in here, you've got the ability to play around with the height level, a height scale. So if you want to see higher height or no height, which is like now, so you can also do higher scale like that. So, and also you can increase, you know, can add subsurface scattering, but you can also add shadows, which I think is really cool, because if you then increase the scale, you'll be able to see where those shadows are hitting, which is quite cool. Let me just deactivate. Sorry, I cannot. Yeah, I can deactivate shadows. And then you have like number of samples to be able to see it better, or increase the displacement quality. All of this obviously has an effect on performance, but it gives you a better view of what you're seeing, of you know, of your texture. You can switch over to a sphere as well to see this texture, or a cube, which could help. But you can also bring other textures in. So we could bring the other texture that we just did earlier. So I can do the same thing, import layer in the stack, and I'm going to double click this. And now you can find it within my, it should be in here in the assets. All right, let's put it all the way up here, which is very, very interesting. So when you see this, you can actually deactivate this texture over here, and then you can bring this one like that. And it should, in theory, work. Yeah, there we go. So now the new texture has been loaded, which is a very HR Geiger, I don't know. an Geiger type of texture. You can obviously make a tile. This is something more interesting, something akin of Scorn, if you guys have played that. So I think it's really interesting that you can play around with this as well. So I would say in making tile, I think you probably have to go in the advanced parameters in here and start toying with some of these things, because you do want these sort of areas to better match in here, so yeah, that's really up to you what you want to do there. That looks really cool. um Obviously we need we can click the preserve tiling on the delighter. I think that helps if you're adding tiling. I'm not sure, I think it just removes artifacts. I've never really seen it doing anything. um but just bear in mind that whenever you make changes underneath the stack, everything has to be updated. So sometimes it's better to just deactivate some things before you actually start working on the top layer. So this is what it looked like. This is what it looks like after the delighter, which I don't think necessarily helps. So you might want to keep that disabled, and then you can make a tile, and that looks pretty cool. And we can change this to a sphere. Um, I think you're probably just gonna have to work on things like contrast and brightness and stuff to bring a bit more light into the scene, because it feels like it's a bit too dark. But yeah, let's just bring one of these textures within Blender, for example, and let's just see what that sort of looks like in an application. Exporting out of Substance Sampler is really easy. So all you need to do after you're happy with the layer stack that you've got, and if you made any other blends, that's your really, you can do that. Like you could add mud in here or water or whatever. Actually, I don't know, maybe you want to see that, but you could just sorry, let me just type in mud. I don't understand why it's not showing anything to me. Let me just all libraries and then type in mud. Yeah, there we go. So I had to click the materials. I believe I could probably find water. Doesn't seem to be coming. Oh, there we go. We got water. So we can add that in there. Like, I believe we could add it right after the delighter, maybe. Yeah, so you can see it's now added water, and you can increase or decrease the water level if you want. You can pretty much leave something like that. Anyway, so we've got now some water in there as well. You can increase how dark this water is, what color it's got. It's, how wet the edges are based on the water level. You can also add snow if you want. Anyway, so we added that, and then we can click this button in here which says share. And you can actually send this texture straight to Substance Painter if you want. If not, you can just press the export as, and this allows you to, rename it to whatever you want, where you want to save it, and also what type of format. It will automatically create a subfolder. And in here, I can select the texture resolution. I believe you can untick this, and yeah, it won't allow you to type in the resolution that you want, unfortunately. It's just preset, so you can only do 4K. But then it gives you the option of what you want to export. So, you can do specular opacity. There's all sorts of things: ambient, height, metallic, roughness, normal, base color. So there's it's got like it can give you some automatic sort of export functions. So we can select Blender, for example, which then means that you'll need all of these, or if that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get. So then you can press the export button, and it will go through that. You can see in here how long it will take. So I'm going to quickly bring this over into Blender, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like on a plane, and how we can also displace the geometry if we want to in there as well. And that was about it, really. I do hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial about how to use Substance Alchemist and how to use Midjourney to be able to generate textures. I am going to probably post some more stuff on my Discord server, where I'm going through other textures that I've created, nebulas, and all sorts of things that I want them to tile and be able to be used in my space scenes. I mean, it's really an interesting sort of workflow. I think the possibility of AI integrated within your work is going to become critical in the next few years if you want to basically survive in the CGI environment. But if you guys want to support the Arganian Puzzle Box platform, if you want to see more tutorials like this one, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Have a look at my links below and see if you're interested in any of my projects. I would really like to say thank you to the patrons who are supporting me and the Creo members who are also supporting me monthly. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys get the most out of it. You know, I'm really, really glad that you are with me on this journey. Stay tuned. I am going to most likely be posting probably in the next month a tutorial on Substance Painter as an introduction, and also Substance Alchemist, and I might do one for Substance Designer as well. I'm not sure. But I'm also going to be creating an advanced tutorial for creating nebulas in Blender cycles. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think I've got a winning formula now for something that's a lot more intricate than what I've made in the past. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Keep creating.